This is incredible. I can't believe it's working. We did it. Look at them go.
China turned a dead desert into a green paradise. The world can't believe it. The planet is drying faster than ever before. Once green lands are fading into dust, and the United Nations warns that over 40% of Earth's surface is now desert or turning into one. Rivers vanish, crops fail, and the horizon glows gold not with wheat but with sand. It's a crisis so vast that most see it as irreversible. But in the heart of northern China, a miracle quietly unfolded. In a place where nothing was supposed to survive, one man rewrote the rules of nature itself. Over just 3 decades, he planted 300 million willow trees, raised 5 million rabbits, and built a solar farm of 196,000 panels shimmering across the dunes in the shape of a galloping horse. This isn't a legend. It's a United Nations recognized model for reversing desertification, born from the vision of a humble schoolteacher who refused to surrender to the sand. Who is he? And how did he turn a dead desert into a living engine of green life? Let's find out. The global crisis and a bold solution. The Earth is running out of green. According to the United Nations, over 41% of our planet's surface is already desert, and another 40% is on the verge of becoming one. Every year, fertile soil, enough to feed 200 million people, vanishes beneath waves of sand and drought. Where forests once stood, now only dust remains. Where rivers once flowed, the ground cracks open like broken glass. But in northern China, one place has defied this fate. A place once called uninhabitable, the Kabuki Desert, stretching more than 7,200 square miles, about the size of Massachusetts, has turned green again. Once a graveyard of wind and heat, it is now home to forests, farms, animals, and solar energy. At the center of this transformation stands one extraordinary man, Wang Wenbao, a former schoolteacher turned ecological engineer. While the world watched deserts spread, he set out to reverse nature's collapse with an idea so bold that people first called it madness. His plan? To bring life back using trees, solar panels, and rabbits. Yes, rabbits. Over 3 decades, Wang and his team planted over 300 willow trees, released 4.5 million Rex rabbits, and installed 196,000 solar panels arranged in the shape of a galloping horse, visible from space. Each element played a role in a grand design, a closed-loop ecosystem where every living thing supports another. And the results stunned the world. Wind speeds dropped by 90%. 15 million tons of sand are now held back each year by the expanding greenbelt. Groundwater, once falling for generations, has risen again for the first time in decades. Over 10,000 families returned to land once buried by dunes, escaping poverty through an economy born from soil, sun, and fur. In 2019, the United Nations named Kabuki one of the world's most successful land restoration projects. What was once a lifeless sea of sand has become a living, breathing ecosystem, a new symbol of what human ingenuity can achieve against nature's harshest odds. But a question still puzzles scientists around the world. How did rabbits, the same animals that once devastated Australia's plains, become the heroes of China's Green Revolution? The answer, as you'll see, lies in one man's relentless belief that even a desert can be taught to live again. The Kabuki Desert, before the change. Before the miracle began, the Kabuki Desert was one of the harshest places on Earth, a land where life had given up. Stretching across 7,200 square miles of Inner Mongolia, about the size of Massachusetts, Kabuki was known as China's 7th largest desert. It was a world of extremes. In winter, the air sliced at -4 degrees Fahrenheit, freezing even the moisture in breath. In summer, the ground burned under 122-degree heat, hot enough to split the earth open. And between the seasons came the wind, constant, merciless, and alive with sand. But it wasn't always this way. Just a few generations ago, this same land was green and fertile, dotted with small farms, herds of sheep, and winding rivers. Villagers planted corn and wheat, children played near the wells, and the sound of livestock bells echoed through the grasslands. Then, everything changed. The winds grew stronger, the grass grew thinner. Year by year, the soil dried and cracked. Without roots to hold it, the sand began to move, quietly at first, then like a rising tide. Every year, Kabuki crept 25 meters east, burying homes, roads, and entire villages beneath walls of sand over 200 feet high. Families woke to find their fences swallowed overnight. Crops vanished, wells filled with dust. By the 1950s, the crisis had become national. The Chinese government launched massive anti-desertification campaigns, windbreak forests, grazing bans, deep wells, and even experimental irrigation projects. Thousands of workers planted trees by hand across the dunes. But each effort was erased almost as soon as it began. The trees withered, the wells ran dry, the dunes simply shifted and buried it all again. The desert didn't just move, it ate. It consumed roads, villages, even the horizon itself. By the 1970s, hundreds of families had abandoned Kabuki entirely, driven out by storms that turned the sky brown for days. For those who stayed, survival meant shoveling sand from their doorways each morning just to step outside. On stormy nights, the wind howled so loud it rattled windows from their frames. By the 1980s, Kabuki had become more than a desert, it was a symbol of failure. Scientists called it irreversible. Locals called it the eater of land. A place where the government's best plans and generations of hope had vanished grain by grain. No one believed it could be stopped until a poor schoolteacher decided to prove them wrong. The Desert King, Wang Wenbao's vision. And then came the teacher. His name was Wang Wenbao, born and raised in the heart of the Kabuki Desert, where wind ruled everything and sand was the only harvest. Each morning, he pedaled 6 miles through rolling dunes to reach his classroom, often half buried by storms that stung his face like needles. From his desk, he watched the dunes crawl closer, swallowing trees, rooftops, and lives. Then came the storm that changed everything. By dawn, his house was gone, buried beneath sand. His family fled, their fields turned to dust. Standing in the ruins, he made a promise that sounded like madness. "If I can't escape the desert," he said, "then the desert will have to pay rent." In 1988, armed with nothing but a bicycle, borrowed yuan, and a stubborn dream, Wang founded a small salt company, Kabuki's last resource, and poured every coin into his mission, to bring life back to the sand. He began with 50 million willow seedlings, their roots reaching over 300 feet deep to anchor dunes and pull up hidden water. But the soil was dead, no nutrients, no microbes, no life. Wang realized he wasn't just fighting wind, but an entire lifeless system. To revive it, he needed a closed loop, life feeding life. His answer shocked everyone: rabbits. Not machines or chemicals, but living engineers to turn waste into soil. People laughed, officials doubted. Yet that wild idea, born of desperation and vision, would soon change the desert and the world forever. The closed-loop eco-farm. Rabbits, manure, and willows. The Rex Rabbit Revolution. Wang Wenbao didn't bring in machines first. He brought in Rex rabbits. A French breed once nicknamed white gold for its dense, velvety fur, the Rex became Kabuki's most unlikely engineer. After the first willow belts took hold in 1988, Wang began small hutches, feed lanes, shade belts, water drips, and scaled carefully. Within 10 years, there were around 4.5 million Rex rabbits living in closed-loop eco-farms, none allowed to roam freely. His rule was simple: control the inputs, control the outputs, control the desert. On paper, the math was stunning. A single Rex pelt fetched about $30, while raising one cost only $2. Yet the real treasure lay beneath the sand. Rabbit manure, rich in nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, supplied what desert soil lacked. And here was the miracle. Rabbits can't digest grass seeds. Every drop became a pre-fertilized seed capsule, ready to sprout with the next rain. Inside Wang's system, the loop was perfect. Rabbits fed on young willow shoots and dry grasses grown beneath solar panels. Their manure was composted and spread along windbreaks, transforming sand into dark, moisture-holding humus. That humus fed microbes, which in turn fed roots. Each acre produced about 5 tons of organic humus per year, turning sterile dunes into fertile soil within 3 to 5 years. Rex rabbits thrived on dry forage, reproduced rapidly, and survived extremes down to minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit, with 96% survival rates. Females produced up to 25 litters per year, averaging 200 to 300 kits, numbers that bankers admired and the desert couldn't ignore. The silent hero. Enter Salix samophylla, the sand willow, the desert's silent ally. Its roots dive 300 feet deep, binding dunes like rebar in concrete. Branches slow the wind, leaves feed the rabbits, and shoots regrow quickly. Between 1988 and 2010s, Wang's teams and local families planted over 300 million willows, forming the Green Wall of Kabuki. Where sandstorms once screamed at 90 miles per hour, winds inside the green belts now drop to 9. The wall halts 15 million tons of sand every year, stabilizing roads and farmland. Beneath 196,000 solar panels, shade cools the ground and grasses grow again. Rabbits feed the trees, trees shelter the rabbits. Manure feeds the soil, soil feeds the roots. The circle closes, self-sustaining, low-cost, and endlessly renewable, until the desert finally stops moving. The ecological economics and solar energy. The green economy. By the late 1990 season, Wang Wenbao's desert laboratory had evolved into something extraordinary, a self-sustaining economy that paid for its own survival. In just 5 years, more than 1,200 square miles of desert, roughly the size of Rhode Island, had turned green. Windbreak forests, solar farms, and rabbit eco-farms spread across the dunes, turning barren sand into a living network of productivity. The transformation wasn't only environmental, it was economic. The Dilad Banner district, once among Inner Mongolia's poorest regions, became a model for rural prosperity. By 2000, the area's Rex rabbit industry generated approximately $76 million annually, providing stable income to over 10,000 families. Each household needed only $3,000 to $4,000 to start and could earn up to 4 times that in their first year. But the secret of Kabuki's success wasn't just business, it was biology. Wang's model created a perfect feedback loop. Rabbits produce fertilizer, trees grow, soil strengthens, vegetation expands, more feed for rabbits. Fur, meat, and manure supported fashion, food, and biogas industries, while willows were harvested sustainably for basketry, furniture, and biomass fuel. The desert wasn't just tamed, it was turned into a factory without smoke or waste. The solar horse. In 2010, Wang pushed the model further. Partnering with ENN Group, one of China's largest clean tech companies, he built the Junma Solar Power Plant, a colossal array of 196,000 solar panels arranged in the shape of a galloping horse, visible from space. The solar horse produces 2.3 billion kilowatt-hours of electricity per year, enough to power about 500,000 homes. But its real genius lies in the side effects. The panels cut surface wind speeds by 50%, lower soil temperatures, and create microclimates where grasses thrive beneath the glass. Beneath the panels, rabbits, sheep, and geese graze freely in a method Wang dubbed biological mowing, trimming vegetation while fertilizing it naturally. A closed value chain. Between 2010 and 2020, the Kabuki Desert Project generated over $10 billion, making it Asia's most profitable green restoration model. From rabbits to willows to solar power, Wang Wenbao proved that even the world's harshest landscapes could be reborn, not with machines alone, but through a living economy where nature and profit grow together. Nature's response and the Australian paradox. And then, after decades of silence, the desert began to breathe again. By the early 2020s, nature was finally answering back. Wildlife that had vanished for generations returned. Desert foxes, red deer, wild hares, and migratory birds. Species that hadn't been seen in over 40 years. According to China's Ministry of Ecology, their populations have quadrupled since 1990. But the miracle didn't stop at the surface. Groundwater, once falling by 10 centimeters per year, has now risen by 5 to 6.5 feet across the Kabuki Basin over the past 2 decades. More than 100 native plant species, from wild licorice and feathergrass to desert poplar, have reappeared. The dunes that once echoed with the hiss of wind now carry the smell of fresh earth after rain. The soil is loose, alive, and filled with the hum of life. From a distance, the scene looks almost unreal. Golden sand blending into green belts, small ponds glinting between willow groves, and herds of sheep grazing where only bones once lay. The green wall of Kabuki, strengthened by 300 million willows and 4.5 million Rex rabbits, now holds back 15 million tons of sand every year. But with this miracle came a question, a warning from history. Let's fly about 4,000 miles south to Australia. In 1859, a British settler released just 24 European rabbits for sport. Within 50 years, there were over 1 billion. They devoured nearly 2/3 of Australia's vegetation, stripping roots, collapsing soils, and turning pastures into wastelands. Governments tried everything: poisons, fences over 2,000 miles long, and the myxomatosis virus, but nothing stopped them. So why did rabbits destroy one desert and save another? The answer lies in control and context. In Australia, the rabbits were wild, invasive, and uncontrolled, an alien force without boundaries. In Kabuki, every rabbit is part of a closed-loop ecosystem, living in managed eco-farms, their numbers regulated, their waste recycled, their role defined. In one desert, rabbits consumed nature. In the other, they helped restore it, proving that survival isn't about species alone, but about how humans choose to guide life itself. Controversy, recognition, and reality checks. No great innovation comes without its skeptics, and Kabuki's green miracle, as stunning as it looks from space, is no exception. The debate begins. As news spread of Wang Wenbao's rabbit miracle, some environmental scientists began to push back. They argued that the story oversimplified a deeply complex system. Was it really millions of rabbits that revived the desert, or billions of yuan in state funding, industrial infrastructure, and high-tech solar energy? Many point to the ENN Group, founded by Wang himself, as the true backbone of the transformation, supplying solar arrays, biogas systems, and massive financial support estimated at over 6 billion yuan, roughly 900 million USD, across 3 decades. Others have raised ecological concerns. Rabbit manure, while rich in nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, can cause nutrient overload if mismanaged, raising the risk of algae blooms and soil acidification. Large-scale monoculture willow plantations, meanwhile, can strain groundwater reserves and reduce biodiversity if not properly rotated with native shrubs and grasses. Wang's response: pragmatic humility. Wang doesn't deny the criticism. Science is not about miracles, he says. It's about feedback loops, he says. His philosophy is one of constant adjustment, monitoring soil chemistry, controlling rabbit populations, managing compost cycles, and diversifying the ecosystem with over 40 native plant species integrated into the willow belts. Recognition and results. In 2011, the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification officially recognized kabuki as a global model for desertification control, one of fewer than 10 worldwide. By 2019, it was elevated to a global land restoration demonstration center, the first in East Asia, acknowledging its scalable ecological framework. Since then, delegations from over 30 countries, including Morocco, Saudi Arabia, Mongolia, Egypt, and Spain, have traveled to study its techniques. From rabbits to renewables, kabuki has become a living classroom for climate adaptation and ecological economics, proving that regeneration can be engineered if nature is treated not as an obstacle but as a partner. Global regeneration, the kabuki blueprint. The world is watching and following China's lead. What began as one man's desert experiment in Inner Mongolia has evolved into a global blueprint for regeneration. The kabuki model, once dismissed as a local miracle, is now being studied, copied, and adapted from North Africa to Southern Europe. From Inner Mongolia to Andalusia. One of the boldest adopters lies thousands of miles west, Andalusia, Spain. Once celebrated by the Romans as the granary of the empire, this Mediterranean region now faces one of the worst droughts in modern history. Over the past 20 years, annual rainfall has dropped by 40%, and nearly 75% of the land is at risk of desertification. In 2023, Spain launched the Andalusia Restoration Plan 2030, directly inspired by kabuki's integrated ecosystem design. The plan merges ancient Mediterranean land wisdom with Chinese ecological engineering, featuring regenerative agriculture to rebuild soil microbes and organic carbon, windbreak belts of willow, tamarisk, and acacia to halt erosion and cool microclimates, agro-photovoltaic systems where solar panels shade olive and barley crops, reducing evaporation by up to 25%, closed-loop animal systems using manure to create natural fertilizer and biogas. The early metrics are remarkable. In pilot zones near Almeria and Seville, soil moisture has increased by 22%, and vegetation cover has risen by 30% in just 2 years. Farmers who once watched their fields crack under the sun are now harvesting again under solar panels that power their villages. Across Africa and the Middle East, beyond Europe, the kabuki blueprint is being replicated in Morocco, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia, regions where sand meets population growth and vanishing water tables. Chinese engineers, under the Belt and Road Green Cooperation Initiative, are exporting this model through joint research centers and pilot projects. The hydrogel method has now been scaled up. Demand is rising, especially from desert-prone countries in the Middle East. We've signed a $300 million deal with the United Arab Emirates and are partnering with the Royal Nature Reserve in Saudi Arabia. The shared mission is clear and urgent. Turn deserts into carbon sinks and economies. Because if kabuki can make the sand bloom once, the world believes it can happen again, this time everywhere. The desert that learned to live again. From a barren wasteland to a billion-dollar green economy, the Kabuki Desert stands as proof that even the harshest landscapes can be rewritten when human will meets natural wisdom. Where dunes once shifted endlessly, willows now anchor the earth, And where silence once ruled, life breathes again. It all began with a teacher on a bicycle, Wang Wenbao, a man who refused to surrender to the sand. His vision turned a local fight for survival into a global formula for regeneration, blending biology, technology, and economics into one living system. If one man and one desert can spark a new green revolution, then what about the rest of us? If the Kabuki Desert can come back to life, what's stopping the rest of the world? Could this be the blueprint to heal our planet's scars? Tell us what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story.